part 4, and in this moment we are going to listen and we are going to judge. So one of the reasons why Kimball decided to kind of break off from the path that Elon was going down with becoming a part of the rise of the internet was because of how tumultuous their working relationship was while creating Zip2. So it has been reported by staff members who worked in the rented office space where Zip2 was being created, and this information has also been confirmed by Elon and Kimball themselves. Kimball and Elon would get so frustrated with one another that they would resort to fist fighting in the office. Staff regularly witnessed violent altercations between Kimball and Elon. Sometimes they would even be rolling around on the floor in the office fighting. Fist fighting, men in their 20s, fist fighting in the office, surrounded by other staff members. I know they did not have an HR department. I know it. One of the most memorable and well-cited fights that Elon and Kimball got into resulted in Elon having to be rushed to the emergency room to receive stitches and a tetanus shot. A tetanus shot? Why a tetanus shot, Bekah? Because Kimball Musk got so frustrated with his brother that he took a bite out of his hand while they were fighting. A chunk of flesh out of his hand. And I totally understand brothers fight. I totally understand wanting to knock the lights out of Elon Musk. I get it. But I really have a hard time having understanding as to how a 20-something-year-old man had to resort to cannibalizing his brother during office hours because he got angry. Like, can you imagine what their staff was subjected to? If there are any staff members out there who used to work for Zip2 and didn't sign an NDA, this is your time to shine. So, like I said, Kimball chose a different path. Okay, I guess there was something that really inspired him about taking a bite out of his brother's hand, and he decided to go to culinary school. Kimball then decided after culinary school to open a restaurant franchise, and he started franchises such as Next Door and The Kitchen, which have been very, very successful. And while in New York City attending culinary school is when Kimball Musk would meet his first wife, Jen Lewin. Jen Lewin and Kimball would have 2 children together before they ultimately called it quits and got a divorce. After divorcing Jen, Kimball would go on to marry a woman named Christina in 2018. And Kimball also has one other child outside of both of those marriages, but like no information is really known about who that child's mother is. And just like spoiler alert, I'll tell you guys right now, Kimball's messy, scary lore all occurs before his first wife. Okay, his messy, scary lore that we are going to get into, because it also involves Elon, happens before his first wife. So just keep this in the back of your mind. Now, Kimball has kind of gotten this like pass as being the less controversial brother, the more attractive brother, this, that, and the other. In reality, it really comes down to who is being seen in the spotlight and how they're being seen in the spotlight. And Elon Musk will never be seen well in the spotlight because he thinks every waking thought and opinion is a gift to the world and shares those. And he's always in controversy. So when we look at Kimball Musk, yeah, it looks like he's a little less controversial, but just hold your judgment. Big controversies that have followed Kimball Musk outside of the super scary secret lore that we're going to get into in a minute that happened before Jen. His criticisms were mostly centered around workplace discrimination enacted by him onto his employees. So if you've ever heard of the nonprofit company Big Green, that is Kimball Musk's nonprofit company, and they basically create a program that allows a learning environment for children in school to be able to create gardens. Great idea, terrible, terrible management on Kimball Musk's part, because in 2021, not very long ago, Kimball Musk's employees of Big Green went to the proper channels when there was an issue of racism happening within the company that was coming from the top down. These nonprofit employees went to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee at Big Green to report what was happening. They went to the proper channels, they reported how they were supposed to report, and immediately dissolved the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. After the DEI committee was dissolved, the workers at Big Green decided to unionize, and Kimball Musk fired them. But those workers took it to the courts, and Kimball was forced to rehire the employees that he wrongfully terminated for simply reporting racism that was happening within the company. And he also faced really horrendous allegations of taking money from his employees' emergency fund that he had created for them, that they were putting a portion of every single one of their paychecks into within his restaurant company for times of emergency. It was called the Family Fund. Kimball Musk laid off a ton of people in his company and started making drastic pay cuts from the head chef level to the manager level to the employee level. That is when, employees asked if they could access the emergency fund, the family fund that they had been paying into for years and years and years with every one of their paychecks. And instead of giving them access to those funds, Kimball Musk laid off 100 of his longtime employees and refused to give them any access to the fund that they had been paying into for years during a global pandemic. And while Kimball Musk has remained very much so in the environmental, restaurant, agricultural industry, he has dabbled back into the tech world, now owning one of the largest drone companies in the United States, Nova Sky Stories. You've probably seen these videos online, or maybe you've even seen one of the drone shows where these drones make pictures in the sky. That would be Kimball Musk's company. Okay, now you know the information that you need to know about Kimball. Before we move forward, we are now going to jump back into Elon's PayPal days. We will get into the absolute debauchery that Kimball and Elon Musk got into with Jeffrey Epstein very shortly. Go to part 5.